Hey, what's up, guys? I said that I was gonna do a WWE Wrestlemania 34 review video. It's been kind of a crazy week, but now I'm starting to get that done. Took a look at all the matches at WrestleMania 34, and as you guys know, I'm not one of those people that when I review uh, pay-per-views, I go in order. I just kind of go in a random order because going in order is just gonna take forever. But let's just get into it. So first up, you had Seth Rollins versus The Miz versus Finn Balor for the Intercontinental Championship. I think this was a really good match. This was definitely a good opener. I think if there was any way they could have started WrestleMania, this was the best way to open up the show. Of course, you guys know I never talk about pre-show matches, even though I was quite disturbed that I didn't like the fact that the Cruiserweight Championship was on the pre-show 2 WrestleManias in a row. But I don't really talk about pre-show matches. But you know, Seth Rollins, Finn Balor, and The Miz, it was a really good match. A lot of good things about it. Seth Rollins has just been on a roll, man. I think um, this could really be Seth Rollins' year. I mean, if you look at what he was able to do last year, when he reformed the Shield and when he had those incredible matches with Dean Ambrose against Cesaro and Sheamus when they were tag team champions battling with them. He has just been on a roll ever since, and especially this year. You know, from the time that he was in the Gauntlet match, which I believe was the best performance Seth Rollins has had in a long time. The fact that he beat John Cena clean. I mean, of course, a lot of people say that's the only reason they booked it that way is because of the fact he's a babyface now. But there's been times where even heels have beaten John Cena clean, and when he was a heel, he did not beat John Cena clean, and that was shocking when he pinned him clean. Um, at the Gauntlet match, and he had an incredible performance in the Elimination Chamber. Seth Rollins has just really been a roll. Now, I'm going to say this: a lot of my predictions were wrong. Uh, I said that the Miz was going to go over here. I don't know. I just for some reason I thought that because they were hyping up the fact that if the Miz held the title for any longer, then he was going to be one of the longest running Intercontinental champions. So I thought that in order for him to make that record happen, he was going to hold on to the title. But I guess it makes sense because he did just have a child with Maurice, so I guess it kind of makes sense to have Seth Rollins go over and win the title. I mean, I just for some reason thought that title was going to change hands, but of course, a lot of people said Seth Rollins was going to win that belt anyway. I didn't think it would happen, but he did, and I'm glad he did. I mean, like I said, Seth Rollins needs that reboost, especially like as a singles competitor, because Seth Rollins he had a pretty rough start in 2017. It didn't really start picking up till after he reformed the Shield and he got back with Dean Ambrose and stuff. Like he had a really tough start. Like he was put into some awkward storylines. The thing with Bray Wyatt that was going on. I mean, he still was good performing, but it was just I don't know, man. I think that this is definitely the Seth Rollins that we seen back at the time of the 2015 era, when 2016 era when he was WWE champion. Because I mean, ever since he came back from injury, he just hasn't he hadn't been the same, man. But I'm glad that they're finally starting to book him a lot better because this is the Seth Rollins I'm used to seeing, especially using the curb stomp. The when he was using the pedigree, that just wasn't working out for him. So next up, like I said, I don't go in order with these things, but so you have you have Jinder Mahal versus Rusev versus Randy Orton versus Bobby Roode for the United States Championship. Now, in my prediction video, if you guys would look at that, I said that I knew that the title was going to change hands. This is one of the many titles that I knew that it was going to change hands. But I said that if there was anyone that was going to win it, it was either going to be Jinder Mahal or Rusev. I could see either of them winning. And to my surprise, Jinder Mahal won the belt. I thought the WWE would have learned from when Jinder was the WWE champion that this whole experimental thing they've been doing with Jinder Mahal, it's just not working. I mean, I understand the United States title is a mid card championship, and I understand that this would kind of put Jinder in a mid card level, but with the terror that he put in the WWE Championship, what difference do you really think it's going to make with him being the United States champion? Now, of course, you got some people that are saying that maybe the reason why they gave it to him is because they were going to Saudi Arabia later on this month. But even then, that's just bullshit. Like, why give him the belt just because you're going to Saudi Arabia? I mean, I personally, I think it's ridiculous how they're underutilizing Rusev, and you could tell that they know that he's got getting one of the loudest pops, but yet they're still having him be the guy, you know, to take the pin for. I mean, because he took the pin. When he really started to get on a roll in the match, he took the pin against Jinder Mahal. I mean, you could tell that they purposely did that because of the fact that how much Rusev is getting himself over with the crowd with this whole Rusev Day thing. I mean, it's not even just in WWE. This is just all over the world. Even in other wrestling promotions, you're hearing fans chant Rusev Day, and I think it's really getting to him because, you know, the fact that Rusev took the pin in this match, I just don't understand uh, what they're doing with Rusev at this point. And honestly, I feel like the only reason I feel like putting him in this match was kind of made as a punishment because it was like, okay, because there were rumors that Rusev was asking for his release prior to this. So it was kind of like, okay, in order for us to keep you, we're going to put you in this match, this fatal four way. But then at the same time, we're going to have you take the pin in the fatal four way. It doesn't make sense. So you put him in the match so that he doesn't leave the company. But then you have him take the pin thinking that that's going to solve problems. I mean, I just don't understand it. I really don't. I would be surprised if Rusev ends up leaving. I mean, it's gonna hurt WWE bad though if Rusev actually ends up quitting because this is not like he's been wanting to do this ever since this year. Even last year, it was the same way. He didn't like how he was being booked. He didn't like the way that they were utilizing him. And this really goes as far back till he first cut his hair. Because the first heat that they were having with Rusev all started when he cut his hair. Because that was like a big deal for some reason. They had a problem with him cutting his hair. And then from there, it's just been major issues with him ever since. That's why Rusev hasn't even won a pay per view match in a long, long time. I can't even think of the last time Rusev actually won on pay per view. Every single time this man's been on pay per view, he's taken a loss just for that reason. I mean, I don't understand the most over guy in the match, and you still have Jinder Mahal win. And like I said, I knew either one of them was going to win. I don't know what it is with them and Jinder Mahal. I don't know why they're still investing in him, especially after how his WWE Championship reign was. I don't get what the whole deal with Jinder Mahal is, but I mean, that's WWE for you. That's Vince for you. I mean, they just push some of the weirdest guys that you know they're not over, but you're still pushing them, and that's just Jinder Mahal to the perfect example. Jinder Mahal wins the United States title here. I knew Randy Orton wasn't going to retain because I think the only reason why they even gave the belt to Randy Orton at Fastlane was just so they could say that he won the United States title. I kind of knew that Randy wasn't going to retain because this was just pointless of giving him the belt in the first place, and I knew Bobby Roode wasn't going to win the belt back immediately at WrestleMania. Uh, Bobby Roode and Randy Orton, but definitely Bobby Roode. I mean, Randy Orton's at the stage now where he's not a spring chicken anymore. I mean, Bobby Roode isn't either, but as far as the WWE business is concerned, he's still a new guy in WWE, but he's not new as far as age. Uh, really needs a heel turn. Like, it's his character, this whole glorious thing. It's just really dying down, man. And that's just why he was so much better at NXT. They're just really killing his character right now. Randy Orton needs a heel turn too, but Randy Orton, it really doesn't matter because I mean, I just knew he was gonna lose the belt anyway. Next up, you have Uh, let's see, you have the Usos versus the New Day versus the Bludgeon Brothers. Another prediction I was wrong about. See, a lot of predictions here I was wrong about because I predicted that the Usos were going to retain. I should have known that the Bludgeon Brothers was going to win the belt in like a couple of seconds, but this just really killed it for me because I'm just like, it's a shame to think that. I mean, I knew that the New Day wasn't going to win the belt back, but it's a shame to think that when the New Day actually gets on the card, these guys were the freaking host of WrestleMania last year. You put them on the card, and they had some incredible matches with the Usos last year. And you put these guys on the card just to have basically a squash match with the Bludgeon Brothers. I don't understand it. I just really don't. I mean, and I don't know why particularly they choose when they decided to reboost their characters to basically reform them to pick this type of character to give them the belts. I mean, because I personally think when they were just simply Luke Harper and Eric Roman, I think that when they were at that time when they were in the Wyatts, that would have been the perfect time for them to win the tag team titles because they had some incredible matches with the Usos then. But now they're making it seem like they're this unstoppable force that can't be beaten. But let's not forget, it was literally just 4 years ago when they were just Luke Harper, Eric Roman, and they actually had some of the best matches on Raw with the Usos and on pay per view, uh, Money in the Bank and Battleground, just to name a few. These were some of the best matches I've ever seen between these two teams, and now they just act like these guys are just going to crush everybody. I don't understand why these repackages with some of these guys are like this, where 1 minute they can be beatable, and then when they repackage them, they try to make it like they can't be beaten. Like we just seen these guys get beat plenty of times. I don't understand it. This match really uh, was really killed it for me because I really wanted the Usos and the New Day to get their fair share. I wanted them to like to have a really good match with the Bludgeon Brothers. At least for once to have it with the Bludgeon Brothers doesn't have a match just less than 2 to 3 minutes long. And of course that ended up happening again. I don't understand. And what was sad about it was, I mean, the only people that really did anything in the match was the Usos. The New Day pretty much didn't do anything in the whole match. They just got beat the whole entire match. The Usos tried to do things and they still got beat. But this match, man, this match really killed it. I wish that I feel so bad for the Usos, especially the fact that these guys, this was their first official match at WrestleMania. Every WrestleMania they've been at, they won the pre-show. This is their first time actually being on the main card, and they don't even get enough time. I mean, this is the worst you could have ever imagined. These guys, first match ever on the WrestleMania card, on the main card, and they don't even get enough time. The New Day has already been on the main card before when they faced the League of Nations back in WrestleMania 32, but the Usos had never been on the main card, so it's even worse for them. New Day has been on the main card, but that's the only time they've won the main card. And the reason why I feel bad for the New Day is because, they have not won a single time wrestling together at WrestleMania. And I would be very surprised if they stay together until next year WrestleMania, considering the fact that these guys at this point have been grouping together for nearly 4 years, which is very shocking to me that they've even kept them together this long. I'm highly shocked because by now they would have been broken teams up. But these guys have managed to stay together for this long, so I got to give it to the New Day for them to still be together this long. Even though they're getting pretty stale with some things, they're still entertaining to me. In my opinion, they're still entertaining. They still have their moments. So I'm highly shocked that these guys are still together, but you never know. WWE might put some plot twists and have them have one of them turn on each other later on this year. You never know. I think the best way to break them up, a team like the New Day, would just simply be to put one guy on a different show than the other, and that would just kind of slowly break the team up. I don't think like legitimately having a heel turn would be the way to go. Uh, And who knows? Maybe they might split them up at the next Superstar Shakeup that takes place tomorrow night or Tuesday night. Who knows? But I mean, it it's a shame. It's a shame that the Usos and the New Day, two guys, two teams, well, a fraction of the team that had some phenomenal matches on pay per view last year, and when they get to perform at the grandest stage in them all, they don't even get enough time. I mean, that's just the part that kills it for me. These guys could have nearly saved SummerSlam had their match been on the main card because they had a great match against each other at SummerSlam. Personally, that's my favorite match of all their matches they had against each other last year. Of course, a lot of people will pick their Hell in a Cell match, which there's nothing wrong with that one. I really love that match too, but I just think it was something special about the match they had against each other at SummerSlam. Like that match just really tore the house down that they had at SummerSlam. That match was unbelievably great, and the match they had on SmackDown. This was back when they was in, I think, Las Vegas. Yeah, it was in Las Vegas. Uh, that was a great match too. All the times they battled against each other from Battleground all the way up until Hell in a Cell, just some really, really great matches. And it's crazy because they didn't get enough time at WrestleMania, and then 2 nights later, after WrestleMania, on this past SmackDown Live, these guys had yet another great match against each other uh, to determine who's going to face the Bludgeon Brothers in Saudi Arabia, the greatest Royal Rumble. But that just shows you what they're doing with these guys at this point. I feel bad for both teams that they had to get squashed by the Bludgeon Brothers like that. And now the Brothers Brothers are the new SmackDown Tag Team Champions, which, like I said, is crazy because I had predicted the Usos were going to retain, but I should have known the Bludgeon Brothers was going to win the belt. So next up, you have Charlotte versus Asuka here. This was another match that I was wrong when it came to predictions. I don't know if WWE or Vince, I don't know if he purposely uh, kind of like flipped the booking around as far as the decisions so that he could throw people's, so that he could be like, okay, you guys know that this person will win. So now I'm gonna throw this at you so that it doesn't seem like these matches are predictable. I don't know if he did it for that reason, I try to say that, oh, it's not predictable, so we're gonna change the outcome of it. I don't know what the reasoning was, but I predicted Oscar was going to win the belt. Everybody thought Oscar was going to win the belt because they had her with this undefeated streak for so long, and they've been basically they had it where her winning the Royal Rumble was going to lead to her winning the belt at WrestleMania, and then she taps out to Charlotte surprisingly um, at WrestleMania. I mean, this was one of the belts I thought that was going to change hands, and it didn't. I was really surprised that Charlotte actually retained the SmackDown Women's Championship here. I really thought that Asuka was going to win the belt, but I guess after watching SmackDown this past Tuesday, it makes sense to why Charlotte retained the belt because they essentially wouldn't have wanted Carmella to come out there and cash in on Asuka after a great match she had with Charlotte. Because the match she had with Charlotte, in my opinion, was a really good, decent match. I really liked the match. I think both women did an excellent job with each other, especially for this being their first time ever at WrestleMania. I think they both did an excellent job here. I was just kind of confused as to why they would have Oscar Street end so early. I for sure thought that. Now, what I predicted, what I wanted to happen was Charlotte wins the belt, and then Carmella cashes in, and then she wins the belt. I would have wanted that to happen because to say, okay, well, she won the belt, her undefeated streak continues, and her undefeated streak just ended by Carmella cashing in. But I guess, like I said, after watching SmackDown Live, it makes more sense as to why they had Charlotte retain. It didn't make any sense to me when I first saw it, but after I watched SmackDown, it kind of makes sense now because the whole point of Charlotte retaining at this point, at least from what I've seen, and of course I read something that said that Vince kind of gave up on Oscar, or they didn't really think she was worthy of being a main eventer. But it's like, if that was the case, then what was the purpose of even having her win the Royal Rumble? What was the purpose of pushing her and constantly on Raw talking about her streak 24/7? I mean, to be honest, I was getting sick and tired of hearing about her streak. They talked about it every single Raw. Like, is it really that important? I mean, seriously, Every single Raw, every match she had, Oscar Street could be in danger. Oscar Street could be in jeopardy. Oscar Street, Oscar Street. I was getting sick of hearing it. Every match she had, even a mixed match challenge, every match she had, it kept saying her streak is in danger. And then finally, she goes to WrestleMania and she taps out to Charlotte, which you could tell this was typically Vince's type booking because we've seen Asuka be in submissions hold plenty of times, and she never tap out. We saw her in a submission hold with Sasha Banks for a long time. Sasha had her in Banks statement for a long time, and she didn't tap out, and she grabbed the ropes. So this is how you know that this was typically Vince type booking because as soon as she put the figure eight on Asuka, not long after she had it in, Asuka tapped out. Which this just shows you how the booking changes because if this was Sasha Banks putting the bank statement on Oscar, Oscar wouldn't have tapped out. When they had that match on Raw, which I think was a really good match between Oscar and Sasha, Sasha did all the stops to try to end Oscar's streak. She tried to do everything to try to end Oscar's streak, and nothing made Oscar submit. Like Oscar would not tap out. But all of a sudden, yeah, Charlotte who puts a figure eight in, and then Oscar taps out. I could see if she put it in multiple times and Oscar kept grabbing the rope and eventually she tapped out, it would have seemed more believable. It kind of would have been like how WrestleMania 21 was when Kurt Angle kept putting the angle lock on Shawn Michaels and Shawn kept countering it. But after a while, when he held it in for so long, Shawn Michaels eventually tapped out. That's what made that match so great. For that to be a first time ever match, for that to be a dream match, for that to really be a great match. But for this, I just think that the whole thing of her tapping out not long after Charlotte puts in the figure eight, I mean, that just kind of kills the whole thing about her streak because it's like the whole purpose of her being undefeated was kind of to say that no matter what you put on her, she's going to keep countering, she's going to keep finding a way to get out. I thought a long time ago, to be honest, that if anyone should have ended Oscar's streak, it should have been Ember Moon. I personally thought it should have been her only because Ember Moon took the best out of Oscar. And I'm not saying Oscar didn't have good matches before Ember Moon, but when they wrestled each other, she really took the best out of Oscar. Like Oscar was basically working her ass off against Ember Moon to the point where she nearly lost the belt against Ember Moon. Some of the best matches I've seen on NXT with these two on NXT Takeover, and it's a shame that she didn't her streak didn't end then, and she didn't drop the NXT belt. She had to languish it, and now she comes in the main roster and she loses at WrestleMania, which kind of defeats the purpose of winning the Women's Royal Rumble. Loses at WrestleMania to Charlotte here. Like I said, it's kind of weird because I for sure thought that Asuka was going to win the belt. I wanted to see her drop the belt, but I thought that she was going to win the belt. So I don't really know what to say about that. That's kind of really awkward for me. But like I said, I guess after what just happened with Charlotte getting beat down by the what do they call themselves? The cars, the the charismatics or what? Sorry guys, I'm just not good with pronouncing teenagers or certain people names, but whatever they call themselves had been called up for NXT. And Billy Kate and I'll get her name because I know her name is. Both of them got called up to SmackDown Live and they attacked Charlotte, and Charlotte was down, and Carmella finally won the belt from Charlotte after so many fake attempts, and something always happened with the refs. It's just stupid, but she finally won the belt. You guys saw a video about that earlier this week. But like I said, man, it really shocked the heck out of me. I didn't think that Asuka was gonna lose against Charlotte. Not at all. I thought she was gonna win, but I don't know. I don't. Next up, you have Alexa Bliss versus Nia Jax for the Raw Women's Championship. It's crazy to think that Alexa, 2 years in a row, she goes to WrestleMania as the champion, and 2 years in a row she loses the belt. She loses the belt as the champion. You know, it's sad to think that because last year at WrestleMania she was the SmackDown Women's Champion, and then she dropped the belt to Naomi, and what was it like a 8 women's or 6 women's match or whatever battle? It was a bunch of women in one match. Couldn't really say all of them that was in it, but I do know that Naomi was one of them that was in the match. A lot of them was in it just to put them on the card at WrestleMania. And then this year, Alexa Bliss is the Raw Women's Champion, and she drops the belt to Nia Jax. It's crazy to think both years she was champion going into WrestleMania, and she walked out of WrestleMania not being champion. That's just crazy to think about. But you know, I I'm trying to think if I predicted that Nia Jax was going to win the belt because I think I did. I think this was maybe the one prediction I was actually right about because I actually said that Nia Jax was probably going to win the belt. I didn't really see um, Naomi. I mean, God, why I keep saying Naomi? I didn't really see Alexa Bliss retaining here. I kind of figured Nia Jax was going to win the belt based off of how the story was. Because, like I said, this storyline between Nia and Alexa Bliss was kind of an on and off thing. Because it goes as far back to around the time of No Mercy. Because um, really, and even further than that, really, even further than that, because basically Alexa Bliss always had Nia as like her bodyguard or her so-called BFF because to basically just use her to help her out uh, whenever Sasha and Bailey would get in the way of anything, and she always used her as that type of person, and it had been circulating for a long time because when Alexa had beat Sasha to reclaim the Raw Women's Championship on Raw, that same night, Nia Jax came out and picked up Alexa Bliss only to drop her and then hold the belt in her hand, basically saying that she was coming for the belt. And this is what led to No Mercy, where it was Alexa Bliss versus Nia Jax versus Mickey James versus Emma, just a bunch of women in the match, and even Bailey was in this match. And I want to say Sasha Banks was. All these women was in the match, and then Alexa Bliss ended up retaining the title. This is what led to that. So it really had been an on and off thing for a long time. I thought at first that generally it would have been better had they had Sasha Banks and Bailey kind of be like a triple threat here at WrestleMania. But I'm like, I guess since Sasha pretty much kind of had that 2 WrestleManias in a row where she was nearly in triple threats, of just multi women matches, that they weren't going to do that this year. But it's a damn shame that neither her or Bailey was on the main card at all this year. They were both in the pre-show. Um, but I think this was a decent match. I don't think that something's going to be very memorable, but I think this was a pretty good match. Like I said, I kind of knew Nia Jax was going to win the belt, and I mean, it's a long time in awakening, though. I mean, I'll say that because Nia Jax, people have been saying that she should have been the World Women's Champion for a long time now. I think that this has been long in awakening for Nia Jax. And I don't think she should have won it as a babyface. I think she should have won it when she was still a heel. But I mean, sometimes they just, for some reason, guys just don't win belts till they turn babyface. It's kind of weird. But I think she should have won it when she was a heel. But I mean, I'm just interested to see how long they're gonna have Nia hold the belt here. Not to say that she can't be a Raw Women's Champion, but knowing how they are, maybe they might have just given her the belt just to have her have a WrestleMania moment and then possibly drop the next pay per view or so. I mean, who knows? But it's going to be interesting to see how long Nia Jax can actually hold the Raw Women's Championship. Like I said, a pretty good match here. I like the way that Alexa, basically, like I said, the way that they kind of built the story with Alexa and the stuff she said about Nia, because it was like making Nia really throw tantrums and get angry. And it made sense because, like I said, this had been a storyline that had been kind of on and off ever since like after SummerSlam, It kind of had been on and off ever since. It was like, okay, what the freak? We just seen Nia Jax attack Alexa Bliss. We just seen Nia Jax battle her at No Mercy, and now we're seeing them together again. I mean, I was confused as heck when I kept seeing that last year. I'm like, these guys were just going at it, and now they're together again. Like, the story was just really awkward. But like I said, Nia Jax here. I think that I think I think it was a pretty good match. I don't really particularly have a problem with her winning the belt. It is what it is. I don't really have a problem with it here. Uh, so you have Nia Jax is the new Raw Women's Champion. So next up you have man, you have Braun Strowman, who took a kid out of the crowd, um, named Nicholas, that was 10 years old, against Cesaro and Sheamus for the Raw Tag Team Championships. Now, let me say this. I thought that this was funny because I'm like, after all the time we've been waiting to see who Braun Strowman's tag team partner is, he picks a kid out of the crowd, and then obviously the kid is too young to hold a belt, so obviously it wasn't surprising they had to relinquish the belts the next night on Raw. But it's like, I thought it was funny, but at the same time, that's all I thought. Like, I thought it was funny, but I also thought that it was kind of ridiculous because it's like, okay, I see what they're doing here, but this doesn't make sense when you consider the fact that obviously he's going to have to get the belt back. So why have a kid come out of? Why have the referee's son, which is what he was, one of the referee's sons or something, get picked out of the crowd, the team with Braun Strowman, to have them win the belt when they're gonna have to get the belts back? I mean, that to me just didn't make any sense. It's a shame when you consider the fact that Cesaro and Sheamus were literally just in a ladder match last year at WrestleMania, and this is the way that they get put on the card this year at WrestleMania. I mean, Sheamus and Cesaro have been doing a great job as a team. This is another team that I don't think should just break up. I think that if anything, same way as the New Day, I think if they're gonna break this group up, this team up, they could just simply split them on different shows during the Superstar Shakeup. I don't think they legitimately need to break up. And on my prediction, I was saying that I thought that Braun was gonna win the belt anyway with whoever he picked because there have been rumors going around that Sheamus was gonna be retiring soon, so I kind of figured by them dropping the belt that Sheamus would be on his way out of the door, but that's not what happened on Raw. But I knew that Braun was going to win the belt with someone, but I didn't think they would have him win it with a 10-year-old kid. I mean, come on now, and not to be funny with me saying this, but the kid obviously is going to have school agendas to do, which is why he couldn't hold the belt with Braun. But I'm 18 years old and I'm about to be done with high school, and if they put me, and if I was some dude out of the crowd that Braun picked, I could legitimately travel with him. Not to say I would want to, because I prefer Samoa Joe, but I could legitimately travel with him because I wouldn't really have to worry about school like that because I'm basically in the world to be done. But this dude is like in the fourth grade, so he has a long way to go before he has to be done with school. I'm about to be done with high school, so it put me in the crowd and tag me or something. I would actually do some stuff I know or whatever. But I just, like I said, man, I think that was a waste of time. Honestly, it was entertaining, but it was still a waste of time because it's like, out of all the people you could have expected to come back, Neville. There were so many talks about Neville coming back, and I really wanted to see Neville come back because it's like the Enzo Amore is gone now, so it's not like Neville can use that as an excuse as to why he left the WWE. So it's like I would have loved to see Neville get picked. All these guys, the Big Show. Um, it would have been interesting had he came out, especially considering the fact that these two guys rivaled with each other last year and broke the ring, which was at this point the third time Big Show broke the ring with someone. And if you didn't grow up or if you didn't look at the Ruthless Aggression era And earlier in the PG era, around 2011, you wouldn't have known that he had broken the ring 2 times prior to this with Braun Strowman. Just really ridiculous how many times they had the Big Show break the ring, but it'd have been kind of interesting had he teamed with Braun because it would say basically the same thing that it says with Bray and Matt, even though it's obvious these guys are not going to last together for a long time. But it would have basically said the same thing like, let bygones be bygones. The two guys who just rival each other now coexist with each other. It basically would have told the same story if they had the Big Show come out and team with Braun Strowman. It would have been like the Big Show, oh my god! But you know, the Big Show, Neville, Rey Mysterio wasn't going to come back because they said that there was kind of a one-off thing with the Royal Rumble, and not only that, but he had recently been injured. I don't know if his injury is still going or not, but obviously, I wouldn't have really expected him to come back. It'd been nice, but I wouldn't have expected him to come back. But Neville, Big Show, so many options, man, and they pick this referee's child out of the crowd. I I just don't understand it. I was really interested to see who was going to be Braun Strowman's partner, and this is what they gave us. I mean, I just really don't have much to say about this. It's a shame that they had to book Sheamus and Cesaro like this because, I mean, obviously, if they weren't so safety on children, they would have just demolished that kid. But of course, they weren't going to do that because of the sponsors and stuff like that. But I don't understand it. Again, it was entertaining. That's it. I don't think they should have done that. They should have, if they really wanted to invest and like have us really into this, they should have legitimately had someone come out who was gonna be willing to be Braun Strowman's partner. I mean, I just don't get it. I think also this was done to make Braun look strong and just to say that he can win the belt with anyone. But at the same time, I mean, what does this really do for Braun? I mean, he won the tag belt and then he relinquished it the next night. What does this really do for him? Are they going to put him on SmackDown Live now doing a superstar shakeup so he can have new rivalries or something, new feuds? I mean, what does this really do for his career? All it says is that he won his first, and the thing is, this was his first title he won in a company with a kid, and then relinquished it the next night. So what does that really say for him? Like, okay, you finally won a belt, but then you relinquish it the next night. I don't understand that. What does that really say for him? It doesn't say much for him. Like in the history books, it really doesn't say anything. After all the times this man chased after the Universal title and kept getting beat by Brock Lesnar and just everything, man. I really this just really disturbs me a lot because they are just killing so much talent with the way that they're booking them. It's ridiculous. Someone like him should be in the main event picture. Someone like him should be out there chasing, actually be a big draw. But they just don't. They just misutilize them so badly. It's just ridiculous. It's really ridiculous. But like I said, man, Braun Strowman won the belt of the 10-year-old kid against Sheamus and Cesaro, only to relinquish it the next night. And of course, we saw on Raw how the Revival and Woken Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt managed to advance to the next round of the I guess the tournament they're having to determine who's going to square off against each other at Saudi Arabia. Revival beat Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, and Matt Hardy and Bray had beat Titus O'Neil and Apollo Crews, Titus Worldwide to advance. So these guys are going to square off against each other um, tomorrow night on Raw. But yeah, man, it it's just really ridiculous. Next up, you have Daniel Bryan teaming up with Sheamus. I mean, God, not Sheamus. My bad. Daniel Bryan teaming up with Shane McMahon to take on Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Now, You know, I love Daniel Bryan. I'm glad he's back. I made a video saying how, I could definitely see him teaming with Shane to face Kevin Owens and Sammy based off the way that they had him come back. The sad part about this was the fact that, you know, Shane wasn't feeling good. So you kind of knew that the match was kind of going to drag or be the way it turned out. I'm not going to say that this was a bad match or anything like that. I mean, Daniel Bryan's performance was great, but it's just the fact that because Shane wasn't able to deliver, and we've seen Shane do so many things at WrestleMania, but this is one of the very few WrestleManias because of what he had, the diverticulitis thing. You know, you could just tell that Shane wasn't really gonna be able to do much here, and I think that typically killed it for me because it was like, um, it's great to see they finally getting this match with Kevin and Sammy, but I mean, first of all, when the match first started, they attacked Shane McMahon and Daniel Bryan from behind and power bombed Daniel Bryan on the apron, and Shane had to basically wrestle half of the match, and then Daniel Bryan got back into it, and he had to wrestle. I mean, that part was just kind of crazy for me here. Um, it's nice to see Daniel Bryan finally like legitimately be back in the ring, just to look at how freaking good this man is. I mean, I always knew it from the get go. Even back when he was in NXT and stuff, that Daniel Bryan is a really good wrestler. Like he's a really good wrestler, and you could definitely see it here. Now there's certain, he's limited his move set now. There's certain things that you don't see him doing anymore, like the diving headbutt. He used to do that a lot. You don't see him doing that anymore. He used to do like a dive from the ropes that you don't see him do anymore. It's certain things that they limit him from doing now as part of his move set. But he still can go in the ring. He still can go with those kicks. He still can go with a lot of different moves in the ring. And like I said, for that reason, I like this match for that reason. But the thing with Shane, and personally, I think Shane needs to stop anyway. Shane is getting close to 50. I understand that. I understand that. You know, he has like this thing, this deal where he has to wrestle like 2 matches a year under his contract. I understand that. I heard something about when he first came back to WWE. He kind of basically is this thing where he has to wrestle like 2 matches on pay per view a year. Even though last year he wrestled way more than 2 matches. Last year, he wrestled. Wait, I want to say 3, but then I'm not. Then I don't want to be wrong. I'm really trying to think here because I could have sworn that last year he wrestled more than just 2 matches. At least it felt like he'd wrestled more than 2 matches. Because typically he's only supposed to wrestle like 2 matches a year or so. Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. Because he wrestled at WrestleMania against AJ Styles. He wrestled at Hell in a Cell against Kevin Owens, and then he wrestled at Survival Series. So he wrestled 3 matches last year, which was way more than 2 matches. I understand that he a part of his deal, he's supposed to wrestle like 2 matches a year, but I really just think Shane needs to just sit down at this point. I mean, the guy unbelievably has survived so many different things. He survived the helicopter crash last year, which was just unbelievable when I heard about that, how he just managed to survive a helicopter crash. He's done so many outrageous things in memory, falling from cells, just so many things that he's done. And I really love his finisher, the coast to coast. But at the same time, I just think this match here is a perfect example of why Shane needs to just sit down and just let the younger guys go at it. I mean, I don't think Shane needs to continuously be in a match at WrestleMania every year or just be in a match in general. I think he should just play his role as a general manager, not the general manager, but um, what do they call him? I think he should just play his role as that on SmackDown and just leave it at that. I mean, I don't really think he needs to continuously keep wrestling, even though he has to kind of because part of his deal or whatever. But I don't really think he needs to because you know it was one thing when he had that thing going with the Undertaker, but since then it's like it's just kind of getting ridiculous to me. And this match was just a perfect example of that because even you could see after Daniel Bryan made Sami Zayn tap out, you could see that Shane McMahon was holding his stomach. You could tell that it was terribly something wrong with him. So I think after this, he really just needs to sit down and um, and just call it a day and just let these guys go at it because Daniel Bryan can go really he can have a great match with Sammy or Kevin in a singles match for real, for real. That could be a 5-star match. And I mean, it's not to say these guys didn't really go at it back when they were in Ring of Honor and stuff like that. So he already knows a lot about these guys. So I just think that Shane needs to just hang it up. I think Shane doesn't need to keep going out there year after year having matches and stuff simply for his health. I just don't really think he needs to do it. And not only that, but he doesn't know how to throw fake punches. It's been a known fact, Shane throws real punches in his matches. And, Chris Jericho went on to say that because at Survivor Series, you know, 2016, when SmackDown went against Raw, SmackDown actually won that year. Shane McMahon was actually throwing some legitimate punches on Chris Jericho. And Chris was getting very irritated over that. You could see him during the match. I mean, so Shane doesn't even know how to throw, fake punches. This man legitimately hits real punches on guys. So I just think that Shane, and like I said, he can still go. I love his coast to coast and stuff like that, but I just think he needs to stop, man. I think he really does. Uh, you know, Daniel Bryan did a great job. I'm glad to see him back here. It's sad to think that Sammy has not won a match yet at WrestleMania. Kevin Owens did win last year, so I'm not really too upset about him losing this year at WrestleMania. But, with them being fired from SmackDown Live and the fact that these guys both got counted out against each other on Monday Night Raw, it's going to be interesting to see what they do with them at this point because, they can't come back to SmackDown Live. They lost their opportunity to come to Raw. And of course, the best line of the day was when Kurt Angle told them TNA is hiring. Like, everybody was just shocked that he even brought up TNA. But I'm like, that's not the first time someone brought up TNA in WWE. It's been brought up before in WWE. But it was funny when he said it, basically saying, you guys can go to TNA. Like, TNA is hiring. Because I seen a backstage site, man, I didn't click on with these guys on SmackDown Live trying to basically sneak up on the show. It's going to be interesting to see what they do with these guys since at this point they're not having them on SmackDown Live. They're not putting them on Raw. So what are you going to do with them? Because you're not going to fire them. They're two of the best athletes right now in the company. They have so much potential. Kevin Owens, his persona, his personality is just really good. Kevin Owens, uh, he like I said, he's just a really good wrestler. Him and Sammy. Sammy has so much potential, and Sammy has yet to win a belt. Kevin Owens is already a 3-time United States champion. He's already won the Intercontinental Championship twice. Um, the only title he hasn't won, he was already the Universal Champion, the second Universal Champion. The only belt he has not won is the tag team titles and the WWE Championship. Those are the only two belts he's never held. But other than that, Kevin Owens is nearly almost done it all, and he's only been in the company for about 3 years as far as the main roster is concerned. He's nearly already done it all, which is just pretty impressive to me. So like I said, I think Shane just kind of needs to hang it up here after this, but of course we know that's not going to happen. I just think, and it's going to be interesting to see what they continue to do with Daniel Bryan. We saw that, he faced AJ Styles on SmackDown and it got interrupted by Shinsuke. But I'll touch on that in just a second here. Like I said, I think it was a good match, but only because of Daniel Bryan. I mean, I think the Shane part of it, which was nearly half of it, killed it because Shane could barely go. And this is a perfect example of why people need to stop being selfish and stop wanting people to come back for their own benefits and actually realize that people do age and some guys age worse than others. Just because age may not matter for one wrestler. It doesn't mean it does matter for the other. It all depends on how much the body has taken over the years and stuff of that nature that can really determine that. So that's my thing with that. So there you go with that. Next up, you have The Undertaker versus John Cena here. Um, First of all, I was in no favor of this match. I said it when John Cena first called out The Undertaker on Raw. When I seen that episode, I made a video saying about my reaction to John Cena call out The Undertaker. I was in no favor of this happening to begin with because I think this should have happened a long time ago. It was no reason why this should have taken place to begin with. And I mean, I think the excitements with Cena coming out and constantly calling the Undertaker and Undertaker not showing up, which is really ridiculous. I didn't even get the point of them doing this. Every single Raw, Cena like mocks Taker or does something to get under Taker's skin, and Taker doesn't even show up. I mean, I don't understand what the purpose of them doing this was. And then, of course, they had Cena as basically a guy who sat in the crowd and watched the first two matches, and then that ref whispered in his ear, and I guess told him Taker was coming, and he ran out the crowd and put on his entire. I mean, I think that him being in a crowd was pretty unique booking here. I think that was pretty creative doing that. But as far as the match itself, I mean, first you had Elias come out, and Elias spent like a good little minute trying to play some music when he saw John Cena. And John Cena gets frustrated, and then the lights go out, and then the first thing you see is Taker's hat and gloves and jacket, or whatever, that he took off last year WrestleMania pop up, and then you see Taker come out of nowhere and face Cena like that. I mean, I don't know why people thought that because Kid Rock was getting inducted to the Hall of Fame that he was gonna, have his persona as the American Badass. I don't know why people thought that was gonna happen. I personally was not thinking that at all. I didn't even want to see him, wrestle WrestleMania, but I gotta give it to Undertaker though, because uh, I think he was in incredible shape for this particular match compared to how he looked last year, where he just looked like he was gonna die in the ring. Uh, and I'm not saying that to be funny. Like this man legitimately looked like he was gonna die against Roman Reigns last year. Like he looked so out of it last year. You could tell that was just it for him. But this year, I got to give him credit. I mean, it was a squash match. It was under 2 minutes or something like that. But I give him credit because Taker actually looked in good shape. He looked in better shape this year than he did last year at WrestleMania. I don't know if the reasoning was because that whole time that they were having Cena come out and call him out every single Raw, that Taker was actually training and lifting weights to kind of get himself back in shape. But I really, I didn't want this match to happen because it would have defeated the purpose of what happened last year. You had Taker take his gloves off and hat and stuff to imply that he was retiring. But then you have him come back this year to face Cena, so what is that really saying? I mean, I just that's the reason why I didn't want to come back, because it would have killed the whole moment of last year. You had people in tears because they thought this man actually retired. Like I said, there have been people who's came out of retirement before, but it's a difference between that compared to this. Taker, I've been saying this one. Taker needs to stop. Same thing I just was saying about Shane Taker. He needs to be done. He has no purpose of continuously wrestling year after year. And I think people are just getting so stuck. And this is the selfishness that I don't like in people. See, the reason people want Taker to wrestle year after year WrestleMania is for their own benefits. They're not thinking about Taker's health. They're not thinking about Taker's age. They're not thinking about the fact that Taker is in his early 50s at this point. They're not thinking that pretty soon he'll be close to 60. He's in his early 50s at the moment, but a couple of years he'd be close to 60. They're not thinking about that. The only thing they want to do is just see Taker wrestle year after year WrestleMania. First of all, the prestige is gone. The man's streak already ended 4 years ago against Brock Lesnar. What more can you ask? And he just lost again against Roman Reigns last year. And he won this year, I guess, as a way to have him have a win at WrestleMania. But if that's the case, if this man's going to win this year at WrestleMania, this needs to be it. It's no reason why he needs to wrestle again next year at WrestleMania. I don't think there's a point to that. If they just had him win this year, he just needs to stop, man. I've been saying this for so long. I get really fed up with guys that just wants to keep going and keep going and keep going, and they know they have nothing left. Taker has no reason to be in that ring. He's accomplished everything there is to accomplish at this point. His streak is already ended, so there's no point of that. There's no point of him coming for that because at this point, any kick out someone does to the tombstone is so deadly used because we've seen so many guys do it against him at WrestleMania. It just doesn't even mean anything at this point. When Roman Reigns did it last year, it didn't mean anything. I mean, like I said, I think Taker. I was in no favor of this match to begin with, but I would say this: uh, I rather it had been I rather it had been a squash match than to have been a full match because I didn't want to see it in the first place, and I feel like had it been a full match, Taker would have been nearly acting like he couldn't breathe. And it was a good thing that it just happened for a few minutes and got over, and it wasted time. It did because the show itself was just so long, 7 hours. But like I said, they got what they wanted, but at the same time, this is just fans being selfish because it's like this is just the fans that only want things for themselves. It's like you're not thinking about Taker, you're only thinking about yourself. You're not thinking about Taker and the fact that the man is getting older and that he needs to legitimately stop. You're thinking about yourself. That's why you want to see this happen. Then you sit and bitch here and complain when he has a squash match against John Cena. What do you expect? I mean, what else do you really expect here? So I just don't understand fans is like that. But you have your way of thinking of things. Everybody has their opinion. Everybody has their things. I have mine. I agree. You don't have to agree with what I say or anything like that. But like I said, I don't know, man. It's really ridiculous to me. I don't think Taker should have had any business being at WrestleMania. A lot of people are happy about it, but it's just because they're so stuck on the past, man. Taker is not the same man he used to be. He was in great shape. I'll give him that. He was in good shape. But this just needs to be it. There's just no reason he needs to continuously wrestle after this. If he is, it should be one final match. He just does not need to keep doing this anymore. Um, Next up, we have Ronda Rousey and Triple H versus, oh my God, Ronda Rousey and Kurt Angle versus Triple H and Stephanie McMahon. This, a lot of people said this was the match of the night, and I can't really uh, say that I would disagree with them here. Same way how Seth Rollins' match was nearly the match of the night, a good opener for the show. Um, yeah, this was a really good match, especially for two guys, Kurt Angle and Triple H, who are pretty much in the merge of hitting 50 soon. This was a good match. I really, and it's crazy because a lot of people, a lot of people kind of crapped on Ronda because of the way she spoke on the mic and the way that she would come up on Raw and say things. They basically, made it seem like Ronda basically was saying that it was going to be a bad match. But I got to give it to Ronda. She did a lot of training. She did a lot of things to really make this mean something. This moment here means something on Raw. But I think the best line ever on Raw was when Stephanie McMahon told her, "We know how you handle losses." I think she just owned Ronda Rousey there because, I mean, she's not lying. I mean, we seen what Ronda did when she took her first L in UFC. What happened with that? And a lot of people still don't like her for that reason. But I gotta give it to Ronda because, and I gotta give it to Stephanie too for being able to, take the certain movements that Ronda did to her and not make it seem like she was overselling or something like that. I got to give it to both women here. Triple H and Kurt, like I said, look good for age here. Uh, Obviously, you can tell that they have gotten older. That's kind of what I've been saying about people needing to stop. I'll say this though, um, it's not like they sit here and wrestle week after week, or pretty much try to wrestle on every other pay per view, every couple pay per views, anything like that. Triple H is actually wrestling less and less as the years go on. Surprisingly, last year was like the only, well, last year was the first year in a long time he actually wrestled a Survivor Series, which was something he hadn't done since 2009 when he faced John Cena and Shawn Michaels in the Triple Threat match of the WWE Championship. It had been that long since he had been in a match of Survivor Series. Um, and Kurt Angle just came back last year, so it was good to see him at a match at WrestleMania this year. But typically, I don't think Kurt needs to wrestle like all the time here at WrestleMania or anything like that. I think Kurt could just be fine as GM. Let the younger guys shine here. This like I said, was a good match. I don't think I could really argue if it had been a match of the night. I think it was unexpectedly the match of the night, especially when you got two guys that just, like I said, are not even in their primes anymore and could just deliver such a good match. And you have a woman who came from UFC, um, who everyone thought that she was going to basically suck. Everybody thought that she wasn't going to do well. I mean, I never said any of this stuff. This people thought, and she really did a good job here. I mean, I predicted for some reason. I had a feeling, for some strange reason, that I thought that Triple H and Stephanie would win here, only because the only because of what happened with Sting. Because if you guys remember, Sting, uh, he had never been in a WWE ring his whole career. He spent his whole career in UFC, and God, whole career in WCW. And when he got the opportunity and got offered to come to WWE, he rejected it. So he never came to WWE that whole time, from the Monday Night Wars, uh, all the way through, even when WCW was no longer. He never came to WWE. Instead, he went to TNA. And I thought that they were going to kind of give her that treatment that they gave to Sting, where, if you're going to come to WWE for the first time in WrestleMania, you got to pay your debts, you got to pay your dues, and take a loss, which is pretty much what they did to Sting. It's like, you come to WWE for the first time, and you got this is how you're going to pay the debts for never coming to WWE all that time, staying at WCW and then going to TNA, by having them lose to Triple H at WrestleMania. So I kind of thought they were going to do that, but they didn't. Uh, you know, at the same time, I had to keep in mind that by this man Kurt Angle's first WrestleMania since WrestleMania 22, I got to keep in mind that it legitimately, they weren't going to have Kurt on his first WrestleMania and that long lose at WrestleMania. I mean, that was the thing I had to keep in mind. They weren't going to have Kurt do that in his first WrestleMania in a long time, legitimately lose. They just were not going to have Kurt do something like that. It wouldn't have made any sense. Like I said, this match was a really good match here. I think this, like I said, this is definitely a match of the night. I give it props to everybody in this match. Wouldn't be surprised if Triple H was the guy who pretty much put this match together and built it here. But everybody did their thing in this match. I gotta hand it to everybody in this match. Props up to everybody in this match. Just a really, really great match. I really loved it. You know, I think that at this point, now we saw what happened on Raw. Ronda Rousey took the bracelet, or took the thing off Stephanie's arm and injured her more. So obviously, this is going to kind of be a way to take Stephanie off television for a while. Probably have her be home with the kids or something, and Triple H will probably just focus more on NXT now, like he already was. I mean, this is pretty much what I'm saying happening at this point with the way how they had Raw last Monday night. But like I said, man, anybody who said this is a match of the year, I wouldn't really disagree with you here. Next up, man, this was just such a long card. I tell you, my video, this is already an hour and 2 minutes long. This is just such a long card here, guys. Next up, you had AJ Styles versus Shinsuke Nakamura for the WWE Championship. This was the match that they kept promoting as a dream match, and I think now a lot of people say this was the worst match of the night. When I really looked at the match, because I'm not the type of guy that just wants to jump on a bandwagon. I'll actually legitimately look at the match more than once to actually examine it and see what the way I see it. And the way I saw it, I don't think it was a bad match. I don't think it was one of the worst matches. Was it disappointing? Yeah. You can argue that it was disappointing. But I just think that maybe if they kept the pace, if the pace had been a little bit faster with some of the things they did, then it would have made more for a better executed match. And I kind of knew that this match. Here's the reason why I'm not that surprised this match turned out this way. Because in some occasions, this is what happens when you constantly say a dream match, a dream match, a dream match. You see, this is why I don't really like when they say stuff about dream matches because a lot of times when they say things about dream matches, they don't turn out the way we expected. I mean, take Samoa Joe versus Brock Lesnar, for example. These guys, when they face each other with the Great Balls of Fire, that was a match that people have been wanting to see for years to come. That was a match that was basically a dream match. People have been wanting to see that for years to come. And it had a great build up. This is really the reason why I started to fall in love with Samoa Joe. One of the reasons why Samoa Joe became one of my favorite wrestlers because the booking towards that match was well executed. One of the best bookings I've ever seen with the way that they had Samoa Joe booked leading up to his match against Brock Lesnar at the Great Balls of Fire. And, it started off with a bang, but then it took one F5, and that was it. And that's just an example of what happens when you constantly promote a match as a dream match or something like that. It just seems like the way that they do it, it's like whenever they do a match like that and when it's actually being booked to a certain standard, it doesn't turn out the way people think it would. Certain dream matches do deliver, but then some of them just don't. And this is just the primary example of that. Now, I did hear that, AJ was hurt, was kind of injured, and maybe that's the reason why he didn't really do deliver as good in this match. Of course, he's not the guy that books the match, but I did hear something about AJ being injured. I mean, and then I don't know. I just think this is a primary example of what happens when fans expect so much of a match. Even I thought this match was going to be good, but it's like when you expect too much of a match, that's when it doesn't deliver. And then when you expect a match to just be terrible, then sometimes it's the opposite. People thought that the Ronda Rousey and Triple H thing, they thought that was going to be a bad match, but it actually turned out good. This match, people was hyping it up like it was going to be the best thing since sliced bread. Even I was thinking this match was going to be a great match, and then it doesn't happen. I mean, Finn Balor's match with AJ Styles, which wasn't even, keep in mind, that match wasn't even built up at all. It was no build up for that match. It only happened because of the fact that of Roman being sick and then Bray was sick because of that illness that was going on in the company late last year. So they just randomly threw a dream match between Ben Balor and AJ Styles that had no build up at all, and it still turned out to be a near 5-star match, a really great match. That match had no build up, and it was that good. That just kind of shows you how the matches that do have a build, that are like dream matches, some of them just don't deliver, and then the ones that just really don't have a build at all be like the ones that surprisingly deliver. Because that match had no build up, and it was a great match. This match had a build up. I like the build up because I really think that during the build up you can kind of tell Shinsuke was going to turn heel because he kind of always had AJ's number. He was playing mind games with him. And on the last episode of SmackDown before WrestleMania, you had AJ fake like he was going to do a phenomenal for him and basically do the same thing Shinsuke had been doing to him, playing mind games. So I kind of figured they were going to have Shinsuke turn heel, which, I mean, I'm going to be honest, he kind of needed to turn heel because, I mean, look at the way that this man's been booked. Every WWE Championship opportunity, this is the third time he's had a WWE Championship opportunity and he lost. And I predicted that Shinsuke was going to win the belt. Everybody thought Shinsuke was going to win the belt, and he didn't win it. Surprisingly, AJ Styles retained. And I love AJ Styles, but I thought that Shinsuke was going to actually win the belt, and Shinsuke didn't even win it, which kind of makes it pointless of him winning the Royal Rumble. And we've seen plenty of people win the Royal Rumble, but not win the WrestleMania. But this was completely crazy of how you finally have a new star win the Royal Rumble, how everybody been bitching and complaining about how, you know, they weren't having new talent win the Rumble. They was always having like, older guys win the Rumble. Guys who's already been established when they had Orton win last year. Even though the pot was loud and everything, it was still kind of, you know, crazy because it was like, Orton has already established himself, so why is he winning the Royal Rumble? And the year before that, you had Triple H winning the Rumble, which didn't make any sense. They had Roman Reigns win the year before that. I mean, everybody's been complaining about the last couple of Royal Rumble winnings for the last couple of years, and you finally have someone new win the Royal Rumble. You finally have an up and coming star win the Royal Rumble, and this is the way that they come to the WrestleMania here. They go to WrestleMania and then they don't even win the belt. I mean, I don't understand that. Um, it kind of kills the whole purpose of him winning a Royal Rumble to begin with. And like I said, I think his heel turn. Um, I think this may be the centerpiece that really reboosts Shinsuke because, like I said, he's just had opportunity for the WWE Championship, and each time he's had opportunities, he's lost. Because his very first loss was against Jinder Mahal at SummerSlam on the main roster, and no one expected that to happen. Then he lost again to him, and I think Hell in a Cell. So for the WWE Championship. So this is like the third time this man's had an opportunity for the WWE Championship, and he lost. So I mean, he's had three opportunities and he didn't win the belt. So I mean, I would only make sense at this point to turn him heel because uh, every opportunity this man's been given, they've had him lose each and every time. This was the one time I thought he was going to win, but surprisingly, they had AJ win. Like I said, a lot of strange booking decisions here at WrestleMania. I'm not sure if they did this because they knew people thought it was going to be predictable or what, but it was just a lot of strange booking decisions. And this is just an example of that. This was just a really strange booking decision here, but it's going to be interesting to see how Shinsuke can elevate this heel turn. He really proved it on SmackDown when he attacked uh, Daniel Bryan from behind and AJ Styles. You could tell this heel turn is at this point it's making Shinsuke look obsessive here. It's making him look like he's obsessed with winning the belt uh, with this heel turn he has here. It really makes me believe that Shinsuke looks like he excessively wants to win the belt. So it'd be interesting to see these guys go at it at Backlash, and he ends up winning it then, which would say a lot about Backlash lately because it seems like every single year now. Ever since they bought Backlash back in 2016, we always see a new champion uh, win the belt at Backlash. 2016, AJ had beat Dean Ambrose for the WWE Championship at Backlash, and last year we seen Jinder Mahal beat Randy Orton for the WWE Championship. So it would be no surprise if this if this feud continues up until Backlash and then Shinsuke actually beats AJ Styles for the WWE Championship at Backlash. It wouldn't really be surprising because we've seen the WWE Championship change hands 2 years in a row at Backlash, and now here we are at Backlash again. So it'd be kind of wouldn't really be surprising to me if Shinsuke ends up winning the title at Backlash, but it would kind of suck because it's like they could have did this at WrestleMania, but I don't know. Like I said, I don't think it was one of the worst matches in WrestleMania history. I mean, it's been way more matches that were worse than this. But I think that maybe if the pace was better, maybe if they had a couple more kickouts, maybe if it didn't take one Styles clash, it would have made more sense. Maybe if the King Sasha had actually been used and had AJ kicked out of maybe one or two of them, then the match would have gotten had a lot more rhythm to it. But it was just a lot of things missing for the match. They killed it. Like I said, I typically think that this happened because this is what happens when they continuously keep saying that a match is a dream match, and when it actually happens, it just doesn't go into perspective people think it would. And this is kind of why now I don't really have like big dream matches because it's like why think of that when you know You know how WWE booking is. They don't even have you. They don't even have it in the way you think it would. So, and this is just a primary example of that. Now, I do think the way he did the Styles Clash, countering the Kinshasa and getting them to the Style Clash, I think that was a smooth way to end the match. But he could have had more than one Style Clash that could have happened throughout the match than him just doing one. And Shinsuke Nakamura could have gotten more than one Kinshasa. He could have had AJ Styles kick out of more than one of that to make the match look to be more better here. But like I said, I just they said a lot about how the crowd was, but it was a long show. I just think that you know, I think this match maybe if the pace was better, it could have been a lot better here. Uh, okay, so I believe I'm on my last match here now. Like I said, what is it? It was 14 matches on the card, 13 matches on the card. John Cena and Undertaker got added late, but it was like legitimately 13 matches on the card before that happened. Just a lot of matches I had to go over, so that's why I went over the other ones earlier so I can get through that. I believe I got through all the mid card titles. Yeah, the United States title, Intercontinental Championship, Tag Team titles, Women's Championship. Yeah, I got over all those titles. So yeah, um, last and certainly not least, yeah, Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns for the Universal title. You know, another strange booking decision here. It's just pretty strange how they were doing things here. Brock Lesnar surprisingly goes over and retains the belt. Kind of makes you wonder the whole purpose of saying this whole thing with Roman Reigns. Uh, having him basically seem like he was the throning everybody. Brock Lesnar was just beating everybody at WrestleMania, and then he has a match at Roman Reigns, and you would think that this is the time Roman's going to finally beat the Beast for the title. You know, you know, the reason I'm gonna just say this. Obviously, this was not a good main event, and Roman has not had good main events for the last 2 to 3 years. Uh, After this, they really need to take Roman out of the main event picture. Uh, I just don't understand why they're still pushing this man to be in the main event. I think after this, they really need to get him out of the main event picture. Um, you know, Obviously he's going to face Brock Lesnar again in Saudi Arabia, but it would be ridiculous for Brock to drop the belt to him in Saudi Arabia at a network a big live event. It doesn't make any sense for him to drop the belt to him at the Greatest Royal Rumble. It doesn't make any sense for him to do that. Uh, I would say this: the reason this match was not a good match was because basically they nearly did the same thing they did 3 years ago at WrestleMania. When I look back at it, when I legitimately looked at the match they had at WrestleMania 31, the crowd was actually into it. Suplex City was a big thing at that time. You know, the crowd was actually into it, and it actually, and even though Roman got beat to death nearly half the match, it wasn't like Roman sat there and did the same moves over and over again. I mean, this match to me was just ridiculous with how much they had him overusing stuff. The Superman punch was used so many times in this match. I mean, at WrestleMania 31, he used the Superman punch about 2 to 3 times, but this match, he overused the Superman punch. The Superman punch, it seemed like he used it nearly the whole match. This match was nearly the battle of signatures and the battle of finishers. That's what this match felt like. It was just basically between German suplexes and Superman punches and F5s and spears. Is basically what this whole entire match was. And the difference with their match at WrestleMania 31 was that was not what the whole entire match looked like. Actually, it pretty much had Brock dominating half the match, but during the domination, you had Roman have his comebacks. Because, and this is an example of what happens when people. It's funny because it's like the matches that you expect the least of usually turns out to be, surprisingly turn out to be some good matches. And the matches that you expect to be the best ones are the ones that turn out to be some crap. Everyone knew this match was already going to be bad, but it's like people crapped on their match at WrestleMania 31 before that happened because the booking sucked when they actually were. The build up towards the match was terrible, but when it came to the match at WrestleMania, it was actually a really good match. And like, you know, and I would agree with a lot of people here. The reason why this match sucked so bad was because it was no different than what it was 3 years ago. I don't understand. Of course, they did this because you know they both beat the Undertaker at WrestleMania, so this was kind of a way to have two guys, the only two guys to beat the Undertaker at WrestleMania, go at it. And the fact that this whole thing about Brock going to UFC was such a big thing, and unlike SummerSlam when they just had that going with him going to UFC, obviously I knew he was going to retain the belt at SummerSlam because the way what I heard was that was just a tease because he was gonna leave WWE after WrestleMania, and quite frankly, I wanted him to leave because it's not that I wanted Roman Reigns to be WWE champion, but I'm just sick and tired, Universal champion, excuse me, but I'm just sick and tired of Brock Lesnar hogging the Universal title. Like I'm just getting sick of it. He has defended the belt a lot more than when he was the WWE World Heavyweight Champion during the 2014-2015 period. I'll give him that. He's defended this belt a lot more, but I'm getting sick and tired of him holding the belt. And I honestly think at this point, when Brock finally does drop the belt, they need to completely stop with these part timers winning uh, being like winning main event type belts. I think they really need to stop with this at this point because it's really hogging away from the young talent. I just think that it has to stop. Brock Lesnar, uh, the Brock that we're seeing now, he's just so lazy. He does the same thing over and over again. He's like Goldberg 2.0. People sat here and complained about Goldberg, wanted Goldberg. Everybody was chanting for Brock last year because they wanted to see Goldberg lose to Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania because Goldberg was basically having 1 to 2 minute matches. Well, I mean, what the hell? Not much different happened with Brock Lesnar as he's been the Universal Champion. I mean, look at the way his matches has been, and everybody was rushing for Goldberg to wrestle to leave WWE. Hint, hint, Brock Lesnar is a 2.0 Goldberg. He's no different than Goldberg was. I mean, seriously, he does the same thing in his matches all the time now. And I know it's a by choice, but I mean, it's ridiculous. It was, when Brock first started the whole Suplex City thing, it was big then, but now it's really died down to me. I think that it's just looking ridiculous now. He's making matches look god awful by doing this. This is one of the reasons why. This is one of the reasons why a lot of his matches, you know, just were not good matches ever since he's been champion. And like, I would say that the last time Brock legitimately now of course his SummerSlam match was good, but that's only because it was a fatal four way. And his match against AJ Styles was good, but that's only because he actually, for once, they actually had AJ Styles do some things to him, unlike everybody else who was just literally getting uh suplexed the whole entire match. They actually had AJ Styles legitimately do some things to Brock Lesnar in the match and gain momentum and actually go at him. But other than that, most of his matches with his title has just been pretty disappointing. It is like he's been this way for a good little while now. The last time I could legitimately say Brock had a really good match, strangely enough, is when he went against the Undertaker at SummerSlam that year, 2015, and when he faced him at Hell in a Cell. That was like the last time I could really say Brock actually had like some good matches. Since then, it's like Brock has just gotten really lazy. He does the same thing in his matches all the time. I'm just getting sick of it. I wanted to see him drop the belt for that reason. Not because I wanted Roman to be the Universal Champion, but just because I wanted some younger talent who's a full time wrestler to be champion. So that Brock could finally leave the company. Because I'm just like, I understand a man gets paid a lot of money, but is it really worth all that? I mean, I really just want to see him be done. at this point, of course, people see now that he's re-signed with a company that this gives more opportunities and to face more guys for the belt. But I just think that he needs to go. I think Brock has done his fair share. It was one thing when he burst on the scene in 2012, the night after WrestleMania 28, but since then he just has not been the same Brock we've seen at that time. He first of all, his technical wrestling stopped nearly a decade ago. At this point, he hasn't even done any technical wrestling since around 2003, 2004, or 2002 through 2004. That time period, he's no longer a technical wrestler. Ever since he came back, all he mainly uses is his UFC stuff. But I could at least say that when he first came back, he legitimately did more than one move set. Now his literal only move set is the German suplex and the F5. I mean, it's just ridiculous to me. It's really ridiculous. And of course Roman, like I said, they just need to give up with him as far as him being the main event guy. Everyone knows they need to stop with Roman. This should have been in a long time ago. His movesets are really no different. I mean, but the thing is, Roman has more than one moveset, but for some reason, for certain guys he wrestled, they just don't have him use it. I mean, like the Superman punch and the spear is not the only thing Roman does. He does a lot more than that. He used to do like that edge cutter, some type of power bomb he would do where it was like an edge cutter and then like a power bomb, like blended together. He has that move that he does. He has the drive by that he does. He does this thing where he comes from the top rope. Um, yeah, he has the Samoa drop. He has other moves that he does, but for some strange reason, it's like as certain guys he faced, they just have him where he only does like one or two move sets. I don't understand that because, like I said, Roman has more than one move set he does, but for some reason, with certain guys, they just don't have him use it. I mean, I just don't get it. But obviously, like I said, they really need to stop this Roman stuff, and Brock has got to go. I'm hoping after this year, when he does finally drop the belt, that he leaves for good because everybody was wanting Goldberg to leave. Well, it's no different for Brock. I really just want to see Brock go because he is just hogging. And Brock is one of the reasons why the pyro stopped. He's one of the reasons why a lot of the guys don't get to have pyropes when they come out anymore because of Brock. Because he gets paid so much money that it took away from them investing pyropes in a lot of guys' interests, and it just kind of kills it when they come out now because that they don't have pyropes. Brock is one of the reasons for that. So, and we've seen some of them used at WrestleMania, but still, that's WrestleMania. That's not to say an everyday thing. WrestleMania only comes once a year. Brock is one of the reasons why pyros don't even happen anymore. So, I just want to see this man go. Like he just needs to go to me. He's getting so lazy in the ring. He's doing the same thing over and over again. I mean, even in some ways, you can start to see his age starting to show. He's looking more flappy now compared to what he looked like when he first came back. He actually looked like he was coming from the UFC at first. Now he looks more like he doesn't really do as much exercise and stuff like that. If you look at his body weight, it kind of looks more flappy now. It's just ridiculous, man. I just think this whole thing with Brock has got to stop. You know, I'm interested to see how much longer he's going to hold the belt before he drops it, considering now he's been champion for over a year. But after this, they have got to stop this part timer stuff of winning big titles. And, you know, as long as Vince is going to keep trying to shove Roman Reigns down, it's going to continue. But even that has got to stop too. But that's pretty much it, guys. I know this video is pretty long. Everybody's not going to look at the whole thing. But, you know, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know it's hella long. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like, comment, subscribe. It's not already lots of flex. I had to do my WrestleMania 34 prediction video to end off the weekend here. I know a lot of people have already, not prediction review video. I know a lot of people have already done theirs, but I'm a little late on mine. But, it's out here now. So, hope you guys enjoyed. And I'll see you guys in the next one, guys. So peace out.